Hey all, welcome to Tech Talk. Today's episode is about home internet setups. Most people's home internet setup probably consists of a single device called a gateway. This gateway handles Wi-Fi and Ethernet access, as well as providing modem and router capabilities, and even wireless access point capabilities as well. This device can usually be rented from a company or purchased on one's own, and there's even used hardware and equipment on sites like eBay. However, I think that some other people would argue that they have a home setup where it includes a router, a modem, even their own wireless access point, maybe even a firewall application as well. But today I'm going to go over the basics of what a home network setup consists of and how you can understand it from the most baseline perspective. Let's say you have a gateway, a one single device that handles all the transactions on your network, whether they're wireless or it's Ethernet based, and everything that's going on from your modem to your router to your wireless access point is being handled all in a single device, and whether or not you get it from your company or you go buy one online, essentially, this is how it might look. Now, this is a device that's for a camera system. However, we're going to use it as an example here. Let's say this is my gateway, my one device that handles all my transactions. I would plug in my cable or my fiber output port into here, and then take my Ethernet cable and plug it into the back of this port, which usually would be considered the WAN port. WAN meaning wide area network. Wide area network is essentially what we consider the internet. Access to all the different web providers and games and our repositories for our code bases, everything. Let's say we have our device set up and I say, okay, great. I got power, I got cable, I got Ethernet. Then what? Most people would probably go to the provider's wizard and set up their gateway from either their desktop, from a wired connection, like another Ethernet cable, perhaps on the back of the gateway, or they can visit it via a mobile device or a wireless supporting computer. Now let's say I have multiple wired supporting computers, meaning I don't have Wi-Fi chips on them or they have no capable access to access Wi-Fi without putting a Wi-Fi card in it. A switch can be helpful in this case. A switch is something that allows you to manage multiple Ethernet outputs to devices on your network. This is a small TP-Link example. As you can see, it has 5 ports on the back. If I plugged in my gateway into one of these ports, it allows for 4 other devices to have access to the internet. So for demonstration, let's say I plug this into port number 1 here on my TP-Link switch. Now I want to plug in my computer. I have 2 ports taken, one providing me access to the internet via my router or my gateway, and the other providing access to my computer. Let's say I can't afford a switch that will handle all the capabilities for the wired devices on my network. Wi-Fi cards aren't too terrible of an option, but you can even go the cheap route and just buy a USB inserted Wi-Fi connector. These are super easy to install. They usually come with their own drivers, and essentially it allows for a usually low bandwidth connection via USB port on one of your wired devices. But now let's get a little bit more complicated. Let's say that isn't the setup I'm really desiring. Let's say I want something a bit more customizable, something that may give me a bit more performance. Because after all, if we have a gateway, all of the transactions that we're performing on the network go through that single device, and it can get pretty backlogged really quickly. My home network setup goes a little bit like this. I have a modem that's connected to a cable connection. That modem is then connected to a router. This router is an independent routing computer. It has about 4 gigabytes of memory, and it's got a really fast 2.3 gigahertz CPU. And for a routing computer, that's pretty intensive. I wouldn't say that it's the best on the market, but for a home internet setup, I find it to be not only great for performance, but it also is amazing when it comes to being able to handle guests, as well as the plethora of devices that I continue to gather onto my network. My router then goes to my switch, where my switch has a bunch of different devices connect to it. My switch supports VLAN. Not all switches support VLAN. VLAN is a separate subtopic in itself. I highly suggest looking it up if you're interested. Essentially, the purpose of VLAN is to create virtual LAN networks to provide more security and also provide a better awareness of where your traffic is going in and out of when looking at your device like your router. From there, I have a wireless access point essentially broadcasting to the rest of the house. Since my house isn't super big, I only have one, but the higher the square footage, typically you want to have more APs distributed throughout it, just because it provides a higher coverage, and there's even tools online that can help find out how much square footage that you have versus how many APs that you need. Then I have my additional accessories like my NAS, as well as any servers that I hook up that are temporarily on there just for anything I'm doing at the time. Whether it's testing HTTP servers or FTP servers, I usually like to keep a few ports open on my switch, and I'm even thinking about maybe getting a bigger one and upgrading my network sometime in the future. Now I know that was a lot to talk about, and I hope that some of the visuals and aids that I provided helped you grab a better understanding of what's going on. I think it's better to understand the capabilities that are available for your home network, just because if you ever do plan on getting a bigger place, or you plan on extending your Wi-Fi range to different portions of your house, say your garage, it may be helpful for you to do your research based on some of the tools I described and do a little bit of analysis yourself on whether or not you need something done to your home network. Thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, take care.